The following podcast contains movie spoilers, unpopular opinions, outdated pop cultural references, and occasional f***ing language. Listener discretion is advised. In 3, 2, 1.
And rolling sound, quiet. Speak.
Good day, good world. You're tuned to Subgenre, a podcast about the movies. I'm your host, Josh Dasal. On Subgenre, we get specific about films outside the big categories, and Season 1 is the underwater domain of submarine movies. In today's episode, it's high drama and sizzling action at sea with one actor who owned 1990s cinema and another who defined films of the 70s. They are dreamy-eyed man on fire Denzel Washington and the gruff and grumbly grump Gene Hackman. In a film directed by action movie whiz-bang the late Tony Scott, set your condition to 1SQ because right now on Subgenre, it's Crimson Tide. Joining me to talk about this cinematic tour de force via the magic of the interwebs is, as she would tell you, an unemployed writer who makes videos in her bathroom about weird animal fornication. I'm just kind of hoping she can explain TikTok to me. You may know her online as Charlotte A. Cavatica. I know her as Charlotte Moore. So many names, but an unmistakable person. Charlotte Moore. Hello, Charlotte.
Ahoy, ahoy, Josh.
Having known Charlotte for a long time, I have high expectations. I just want you
to know
how
long we have known each other, actually?
How long?
This is going to make you feel really old. We have known each other 10 years.
Oh, no. Let's talk really quickly about submarine films. Now, are you a submarine movie fan? Do you watch submarine films?
I'm glad you asked, Josh. No, I don't watch movies very much at all. So...
Which to me is a very odd thing. Just A, because I assume everyone does that because I do it, and B, because, and we'll save talking about this for later, but there's kind of a pedigree involved in Charlotte and movies. So
I know.
Maybe we should talk about that in a little bit. What do you think?
Yes, I am the shame of my family for this reason, actually.
and real quick, the weird animal fornication videos, just to clarify for everyone, what are we doing there?
Well, we're actually using the power of science to communicate uncomfortable but very real truths about the way animals get it on. And the kids love it. Can't get enough.
Can't get enough. And this is on the TikToks, am I right?
This is on the TikToks. This is 60 seconds or less information about, so far, spiders, moths, couple other animals get in there. We've had some weird discussion about centaurs, so they're not even necessarily real animals. I do it all, baby.
Well, one day when I figure out how to use whatever technology you're using, you can show me the videos. In the meantime, I think it would be really interesting to have somebody who self-proclaimed wise is not a movie person tell me about the movie Crimson Tide.
It would be interesting.
You want to do it?
So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Crimson Tide is a high 90s movie with an entirely male cast doing entirely male things in an entirely small space. By entirely male things, I mean they're creating problems that they do not have to create and then solving them as violently as possible.
Let me stop you right there and just say, welcome to submarine movies. There is a dearth of all-female submarine flicks. We need one. We don't have one. But this particular one, I mean, we'll cut it a little bit of slack. It came out in 1995. I think it was like May of 1995. So this is a tentpole movie in the 90s, right? We weren't quite woke then.
That's right.
Has a cast that absolutely, well, I'm going to talk about cast. Let's talk about the entire group of people who got together to make this movie. All guys, by the way. Yeah, of course.
There are 2 female humans in this film, and one of them is a child. So...
This is true. That's true. And we get rid of them in the first couple of minutes.
And can I just say too, I'm still salty about the fact that we never got to see his daughter's levitation. Like I was excited about that. And
well, the person we can blame for that is the director. Tony Scott directed this thing. And if you're not familiar with Tony Scott, where have you been? Tony Scott is the director of such films as Top Gun, as Enemy of the State, Spy Games, any sort of like high action movie that was kind of tinted yellow. Like that's Tony Scott.
Yeah.
Tony Scott, brother of Ridley
Yes.
Scott, the complete opposite, like super dark, green tinted movies. So Michael Schiffer is the credited writer on this. We're going to talk about some of the uncredited writing that was done on this by names that you may be familiar with, like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Towne.
I think I've heard those.
You've heard those. Produced by Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, also of the Top Gun connection, Pirates of the Caribbean. The cinematography in this thing, usually I don't get all the way this far down on the list, but cinematography by Darius Wolski, who did films like The Martian and Dark City. You've got Chris Levinson, who works with Tony Scott on a lot of movies, Top Gun included. Hans Zimmer did the music for this thing. Hans Zimmer of Inception and Blade Runner 2049, and actually won a Grammy for the Crimson Tide soundtrack. And then you've got stars in it like friggin' Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman.
Yeah, but what you've just described is a sausage fest.
It is, but it's a really freaking talented sausage fest.
It is.
And then
Undeniably.
The movie has Viggo Mortensen in it. But,
okay, so I was like, look at little baby Viggo Mortensen.
Little bitty
I don't know
Viggo
how
Mortensen.
I didn't know that he was in that.
Yeah.
Well, because I know how I didn't know that. It's because I don't know anything about film.
You haven't
But
seen the movie.
I was really excited to see Viggo there.
And alongside Viggo Mortensen, a very svelte-looking James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano of The Sopranos.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cast that is insane, and I want to talk a little bit more about this in a while. But the movie itself, like you said, it's 1995. It's kind of a picture of its times. It's $53 million budget on this one, which if you listen to the episode about The Hunt for Red October.
In 90s dollars.
In 90s dollars, that's insane. Like we talked about The Hunt for Red October being a $30 million movie, and that movie had 5 sound stages at Paramount, and it had gimbaled sets, and it had the whole thing. This was nearly double that. And my guess is that nearly double that was to pay Gene Hackman. That's my guess.
And I can get into this later. I am engaged to a cinephile who has seen all of the submarine movies and also speaks German and is he knows all the things about all the boats.
Why is he not on this podcast instead of you, Charlotte? That's
I really don't know, other than the fact that he hates speaking in public. He informed me that while the inside of the Alabama is obviously larger than it would be in real life so that they could accommodate filming and such, the reproduction of the Russian submarine in that film is completely accurate. So they must have spent money. I don't know if it was a prop or what they were doing, but apparently like high level of accuracy too.
Yeah, you just built submarines for these things. That's what you did in the 90s. That's how we rolled. There was no digital stuff in the 90s. You just built submarines.
What are you talking about? There was no digital stuff in the 90s.
There was digital stuff, but there wasn't digital stuff like today. Like
there was Jurassic Park in the 90s.
I understand, and that was like the first one. We were getting our feet wet in the 90s. We hadn't quite escalated to the levels of today, but whatever. It's fine.
Okay, it's fine. Okay, they built a thing. They built a thing, obviously.
Exactly.
They built a very accurate thing, and I'm sure that cost them green, is what I'm saying.
It cost them green, but they made it. They made it back. It's grossed $157 million worldwide to date, at least as reported to this point, and that maybe takes us to our feature presentation. This is our feature presentation, Crimson Tide. Warning, spoilers ahead. If you don't like being told what went on in the movie, you are listening to the wrong podcast. In a nutshell, Crimson Tide is really kind of this combination of Mutiny on the Bounty in a submarine meets like a techno thriller. So you've got this salty submarine captain and this new executive officer squaring off in a mutiny, and it's on a nuclear sub. That's the pitch, I'm sure, and that is what sold it, and that is exactly what the movie delivers. We start out at the beginning of this movie, Charlotte, with this quote that is both awesome and terrible. What does it say? I can't even remember what it says.
The 3 most powerful men in the world: the President of the United States, the President of the Russian Republic, and the captain of a U.S. nuclear missile submarine.
The captain of a U.S. nuclear submarine.
And it's in an extremely 90s font. It's like that techno font that they use for anything that was supposed to involve computers in any way.
It is.
Which mwah.
And that font is on everything in this movie. It's on the credits. It's on the little that appears at the bottom of the screen. It's on the monitors. It's on everything.
Submarine font.
It's fantastic. And
it's crimson font.
we get a setup. I mean, it's both. We want to talk about things that are good and terrible, right? So this quote at the beginning, good and terrible. The thing that immediately follows it, which is a CNN reporter named Richard Valeriani, real guy, by the way, reporting from an aircraft carrier. He says the aircraft carrier Foch actually was the French aircraft carrier Foch somewhere in the Mediterranean. But basically that there's an insurgency in Russia, that things are going south, and that potentially Europe could be pulled into a war. Right? It's all exposition. It's all stuff we kind of need to know.
There's a very bad man who wants to get to the nuclear